I'm absolutely disgusted by what I've seen today. FSU gets left out of the playoffs in favor of Alabama. I can't believe it, man. And I've had every single thing thrown at me that has nothing to do with the situation. If you take an objective look at the playoff teams, it's clear. It's clear as day what the playoff field should be. It should not include Alabama. It should be Washington, Michigan, Florida State, the 3 undefeated Power 5 champions, and Texas, who has the head-to-head win over Alabama. It doesn't have anything to do with me hating Alabama. I don't hate Alabama. I love Alabama. They're the only team that's consistently beat Georgia over the past decade or more. Okay? Roll Tide. I love Alabama. I cheer for them. I cheer for hell like them for them yesterday. I love Alabama. I don't hate Alabama. I don't know. I'm not an ACC homer, particularly. Like, it's not because Florida State is in the ACC that I want them in. It has nothing to do with it. I've seen every Alabama and SEC fan come after me and try to justify this. There's no justification. And I'm not just saying this because Florida State's in the ACC. I would be this mad and livid if it was, for example, a Pac-12 team that got left out. I would be just as mad because I know that SEC homers can't comprehend this line of thought, but it doesn't have anything to do with being a conference homer. It has to do with what's good for the sport. In no situation. If there's 5 undefeated Power 5 champions, then I could understand leaving one out. Obviously, you only have 4 spots. That's the only situation in which an undefeated Power 5 champion should not get in. The way it's set up now. And it is an absolute travesty for the sport that the reason they gave is because Jordan Travis is hurt. When losing a player is punished for more than losing a game, what are we doing here? This is unacceptable no matter how you look at it. I don't care if you think that Florida State isn't as good as Alabama. When we know that Florida State is undefeated and Alabama has a loss. That's what matters, is winning games. That's what sports are played for. Sports that play games and you win the games and you get to go compete for the championship. Especially because this precedent has been set before. Ohio State was down to their third-string quarterback in the very first 14 playoff. They got put in because they deserved, because they weren't undefeated, which makes this even more egregious. And Ohio State went on to win the national championship. And so I think all of the arguments, you know what I think? Is that all of the arguments that people, think that, Alabama's better than Florida State, they very may well be. But you can't know that. And you can't rank based off of what you think. You have to base off the facts. And the facts is FSU's unbeaten. You can't go any more undefeated than FSU has. They're 13-0. You know who could have gone more undefeated? Is Alabama. No, they got a loss. And the way that I know it sucks. I know that that you don't want to be left out as an SEC fan. But the way the chips fell this year, with 3 undefeated Power 5 champions, and Texas having the head-to-head win over Alabama, Alabama should have been left out. It's not hatred for Alabama. It's not anything. It's just the way it should have been. You can't argue that. You just can't. And I've seen all these people saying, oh, well, FSU look bad. They look bad. So did Alabama. So is everyone this year. There's no one that's just cruised through all the games this year. And there's no one that's cruised through all their games this year and looked good. Alabama, just last week, it took a miracle last-second Hail Mary to beat Auburn. A terrible Auburn team. And then they lost at home to Texas. And meanwhile, FSU, it's even more impressive that they won even without their quarterback. This is a travesty. And people are talking about their offense without Jordan Travis. They're not mentioning their defense. They had Louisville to 6 points. Nobody's done that all year. Louisville has an incredible offense. That Florida State defense was absolutely filthy. They absolutely filthy last night. And no one's mentioned the Florida State defense. That's an elite defense. And they are getting hosed because of an injury. Because an injury, they're getting punished for more than losing a player than Alabama is for losing a game. It's unacceptable. And so I don't want to hear any argument about how Bama's better and Florida State. You just can't. Florida State's won all their games. They deserve to be in. Bottom line. And the playoff committee tried to justify this and say all this stupid stuff. And it was sickening, the playoff selection deal. It was sickening because they immediately all started trying to justify Alabama being in and talking about, oh, it's so unfortunate for Florida State. They lost Jordan Travis. It's so unfortunate. And Booger McFarland was talking some sense, and they all jump on him. He's the only one that's got any sense in that room. The way that they are sucking off the SEC was disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And that's what it is. Alabama didn't get left out because they're in the SEC. That's the only reason that you can justify. They won't leave the SEC out. This sport, look, I've never had this big of an issue with the playoff team rankings. It's never been this egregious. They are telling you that they're not leaving an SEC champion out, no matter what. Even over an undefeated Power 5 champion, SEC's getting in. They'll justify it any way they can. Any way they can. They'll ignore Bama beating USF by, 7? They'll ignore the miracle Hail Mary at Auburn. They'll ignore all that. They'll and focus on everything Florida State's done wrong. And it's disgusting. And it's just so that they can, they're going to try to shift the conversation away from what's truly going on, is that the SEC's got the most money, the most fans, the most influence over everything. And that's why they weren't left out. And it's disgusting. Why do I even watch the sport? Why do I pour so much time and effort and energy into a sport that's fixed, is what it is. It's fixed and rigged in favor of the SEC. I've never been a tinfoil hat person. I've never been somebody who claims that things are fixed and that it's, tilted towards one way or the other. It is. This is clear as day, inarguable evidence that it is. That the SEC gets the benefit of the doubt. And I don't know why. They're not even the best conference this year. They don't have the best teams. They don't deserve to be in the playoffs. It's the money. Just because every other year they can't go 1 year without it. And so many people are saying, oh, it doesn't matter, we'll go to the 12-team playoffs next year. That's a whole nother issue. I don't think we should be going to the 12-team playoffs because the playoff games now are at a premium and a playoff spot is valuable, or at least it's supposed to be in this sport all the way up until now. Losing games has been during the regular season has been a death sentence for your playoff hopes. Okay? It's not supposed to be. That's why college football is the greatest. And it has the greatest regular seasons because those games matter. Or they're supposed to. But you have these people in here, and it's all about money nowadays. That's why it's all about money, and the sport's being ruined. It's being ruined. It's about the almighty dollar. SEC brings in the most dollars, so of course they're not going to get left out, even though they deserve to be. So I don't know what else to say. This is just a complete travesty for the sport, and it's a sport that was already going downhill. Look, the expanded playoffs a terrible idea that was, that's a whole nother topic, and it's not a good argument. It doesn't matter. It's this year. We're talking about now, and this Florida State team deserves to be in. Okay? You can't. I could turn it around on you the same way. Well, there's a 12-team playoff year next year, so what's the big deal if the SEC gets left out? They deserve to be. So, I mean, I don't know what else to say about this, you guys. I'm besides myself. This is a complete injustice. Florida State should be in. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you think that they aren't as good. It doesn't matter. We've seen it's college football. It's why it's the greatest sport. Because crazy shit happens, and you can't know unless you line them up and play the game. It's not played on paper. If it was played on paper, you could just give Georgia and Alabama the championship trophy every year. What's the point of playing the games? It's not played on paper. It's decided on the field. And now, an undefeated Power 5 champion, FSU, doesn't even have the chance to prove themselves. So they'll never know. So in the history books, they will have never had a chance. They will never know. But like I said, Ohio State was in the same situation, went on to win the Natty. But we'll never know. I think Florida State should raise as much hell as possible in the ACC. Florida State needs to sue and boycott and do whatever. ACC teams talking about boycotting the bowls. I'm all for it. Anything that needs to be done, anything to take action. All I can do is complain about it on the internet. That's all I can do. But the ACC has some power. A lot of people think this will be a death nail for the ACC, and that they're gonna Florida State and Clemson are gonna blame the ACC now for not being left out, or for going undefeated and still not being considered strong enough. And so they're thinking that Florida State and Clemson are going to try to get out of the ACC even more now. I mean, that's another dumb argument. I mean, is it possible? Yeah. I mean, Florida State and Clemson wanted out already, but it's not the ACC's fault. It's the corrupt committee's fault that won't leave the SEC out for 1 year. That's whose fault it is. So, I mean, I could rant and rave about this for hours and hours and hours, but I've been going on for a while now, so I'm going to end this. And I don't know. This isn't the last you've heard about it from me. And whenever I make playoff videos, people are like, you're a Georgia Tech fan. What do you know about the playoff? Stop, dude. I'm a college football fan. And I want what's good for the sport. Okay? This is the mentality that's ruining the sport, is that only the most elite people get to have an opinion on what goes on in the sport, and that only the biggest teams get a say or whatever. That shouldn't be how it is, dude. It's college football. We all play the game. It's cyclical, too. You never know. My Jackets could come back and be really good one day. I mean, that's another topic, but it's like, I just want to throw that in there because I always get those stupid comments anytime I talk about the playoff or something. I'm allowed to have an opinion, too. Just because you cheer for the freaking Bulldogs doesn't mean your dumbass opinion means any more than mine. Okay? So don't even leave that comment. All right. I'll see you guys. Go Jackets, and I'll see you guys next time.